Welcome to my channel. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do so, as I will keep posting new video as soon as possible related to automation testing and software testing. In this video, we are going to do GraphQL automation. But before proceeding with the GraphQL automation, I will be going with the overview of GraphQL. Since you guys are here, I'm sure that you must be having some understanding about what is GraphQL, how GraphQL works, and what is the mechanism of GraphQL. In case you guys are not aware of it, I will be giving a bit refresher on the same. So let us go to the official website of GraphQL. So first let us see what actually GraphQL is. If we go to the GraphQL website, and if we open the second link, Introduction to GraphQL. So as per the definition, GraphQL is a query language for your API and a server-side runtime for executing queries by using a type system you define for your data. GraphQL isn't tied to a specific database or storage engine and is instead backed by your existing code and data. A GraphQL service is created by defining types and fields on those types, then providing functions for each field on each type. For example, a GraphQL service that tells us who the logger is in user as well as the user's name might look something like this. So basically it means to say that GraphQL is server side. All the data are backed by code. If we see the query here, type query, me user, type user, ID, name, string. So this function query is calling me attribute, which is the user, and then the user query, which is having an ID and a name string. There can some also there can be some functions like query me request dot authorization dot user function username return user dot get name. So you see that you are easily able to understand that in this function the user is returning the request for the authorized user, and then in the username function it is returning the username from get name. So once I am hitting the URL, maybe on the browser or maybe any other testing tool, Postman, and I am calling this me attributes, then in this me, we can call the name, you can say object, and there it can display my name. Once we tap on, uh, once we fetch the response, we will get the name something like this in JSON format. Let us see the difference between GraphQL and REST API. To illustrate the major difference between the REST API and GraphQL when it comes to fetching data from an API, we will take an example of a blogging application. The same screen also displays the name of the last three followers of that user. In this case, we are going to see how REST API works and how GraphQL works. For the same condition, that is, we will be displaying the titles of the post of a specific user and last three followers. So basically, as you can see in REST API, this is the picture of REST API, how we are fetching the data. In this screenshot, we can see that for the condition specified previously, we are having three endpoints. One is user ID, one is post, and one is follower. So if I want to get the ID of the user, I need to send some request and then I'm getting some response. If I want to get the post of that user, then I need to send another request and then I'm going to get another response. Objects that we are getting back are ID, title, contents, and comments for the post. And if we are going to see the third request, which is for the followers, I am going to see another response. So basically, once we are fetching any data from the REST API, we need to create separate, you can say, endpoints in order to fetch the data. This can lead to sometime overfetching, and this can sometime also lead to underfetching. When I say overfetching, it means that maybe the information which is not required by the client by me or maybe by anyone, then I am also getting data for that. So example, if you see here, I don't require birthday here, but because I am fetching the ID, I am getting birthday data here also. And in some cases, maybe if I want, there can be cases where I want to get much data, but because of the restrictions of the REST API, I'm not getting that much of data. Let us see how data fetching is done in GraphQL. In GraphQL, on the other hand, it's you simply send a single query to the GraphQL server that includes the concrete data requirements. The server then responds with a JSON object where these requirements are fulfilled. Let's see this with a picture which is having a very good understanding and clear depiction of how GraphQL works. So as you can see here, I'm querying a endpoint, and from here I'm getting some data. The data includes username, sorry, the data includes user, and in that user I'm passing some ID which is giving me name, post, title, and followers name. So as you can see, here we don't need to have different endpoint URLs in order to fetch different data. We just need to create the function that is the query, and in that queries we are having multiple functions which are having some attributes, and that attributes are having some data. Once we are fetching that, you can see here below that the data which is coming, it is having user name, post and title. Along with that, it is also having the name of last three followers, which was our requirement to test. And in this, we are only passing the single endpoint. We are fetching from the single endpoint. We don't need multiple endpoints. Now, if say for example, I don't want to call followers data. I just need to remove this attribute, followers attribute, and I just need to fetch the endpoint, GraphQL endpoint, and it will not return me this data. So likewise, if I don't want name, I just I think that should be a mandatory field. Definitely we need that. But if I don't want the title, I can just remove the title, and it will not fetch the data of the title. So as you can see, we don't need to maintain different endpoints for different data fetching. We don't need to have extra, we are not doing any extra overfetching from GraphQL API, unlike which we are doing in REST APIs. Let us see the advantage of using GraphQL. Basically, this answer was posted on Stack Overflow on this link, and it was a very good answer. So I just thought to share it with you. Once we are moving to GraphQL, we need to know that it is not very hard to learn. The extra code is only a few KB. By defining a schema, so basically what is the schema? Schema is the structure of how we are calling the GraphQL. You will prevent much more work afterwards, fixing bugs and enduring hairy upgrades. There are a lot of people switching to GraphQL, so there is a rich ecosystem developing with excellent tooling. When user persistent queries in production, replacing GraphQL queries with simply an ID and parameters, you actually send less bytes than the rest. So this means to say that if we go previously in our peak, you can see we are having some queries, and that queries having some parameter. So whatever data we are passing, it will fetch accordingly. The extra processing for incoming queries are negligible. Providing a clean decoupling of API and backend allows user for much faster iteration on the backend improvement. So basically, since we are not cluttering our data with irrelevant information and irrelevant fetching, we are having a clean decoupling of API and backend, which is much faster. So far we have learned that GraphQL only needs a single endpoint, and if we want to fetch any data, we can do it from single endpoint. Whatever queries we are having, we just need to transfer the whatever queries we are having, we just need to add the parameters for that particular query with an ID and just need to fetch that data.
Give a thumbs up to my video and do subscribe my channel if you like my video. I will keep posting new videos as soon as possible.
Check out my next video on how to automate GraphQL.